Welcome back, sewists. I'm on a kick of revisiting past projects right now, and that's partly because I'm just in need of some spring clothes, and I have some things that I just love that I like to do again. They're fast, they're easy, they're quick, they're cute. I know they work, and that's what we're doing today. I have made 2 different videos on turning an old t-shirt into a dress. We're doing it again. Today's gonna be a little bit different. The first time I did it for kids, it's one of my top videos. I will have it linked below. I did it again where I had some old t-shirts and I put a denim skirt on and changed up the skirt a little bit. I don't love those as much, and it's partly because of the shape of the skirt. I don't wear them as often. I want to remake those, but instead of remaking, I'm just starting over because I got these cute crop tops, which I will never wear. But as soon as I saw them, I thought, those would make cute shirts into dresses. So I was out shopping with Sis, as one does. And while we were in Ross or TJ Maxx, let's see, I was in Ross. They had these Hello Kitty crop tops. Look at the color. That color is kind of like what I'm wearing. Look at how cute that is. Okay, I do love me some Hello Kitty. As a kid, I remember loving the Sanrio store in the Woodland Hills Mall in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's my favorite place. It was right off the food court. I could walk in there today and show you right where that Sanrio store was. There's also a really cute stationery shop over there. I just remember haunting those places as a kid. And Sanrio was so busy that they would only let so many in at a time because it was crazy. Everybody loved it. Here's the other one. So I bought these shirts and knowing, because they're cropped and they're literally just cut off on the bottom. That's just how they come. They were 10 bucks and each. So I spent $20 on those 2 little shirts, but I love them. They make me happy. And I thought, oh, for summer, for spring, that'll be so cute. So then I ran from Ross at one end of the shopping mall to the other end of the strip where Hobby Lobby is. And I bought some fabric to go with it. So let me show you how we're gonna put these together. I have this very cute pink and red and white. And look at this. Is that not gonna be the cutest skirt on it? I'm adding pockets, of course. So this is one. This is just a cotton poly blend micro gingham check, and that is going to be one project. The other one, I was gonna I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought about just doing a pink skirt on this one, sort of in the same gingham check, but when I walked into Hobby Lobby, they had a green knit that is so spot on. So I'm gonna have a green dress out of this. So I'm gonna have one with a woven skirt and one with a knit skirt. This is 60 wide. I'm pretty sure this one's 48, something like that. So they're going to be cut a little differently. I'm going to show you the measurements for cutting both out. Sewing together is nothing. I will be adding elastic where the skirt and the shirt combine kind of at the waist. It just looks better on me. Everybody's body's different, but for me, having a little bit of defined waist makes such a difference. I'm going to put pockets in because it has a waistline. I can suspend the pocket from that waistline, which gives it support, so I'm going to do that. I consider doing a patch pocket on this one, though I never like the look of a patch pocket, so I probably won't. I think it's cute, but not on me. I'm full hipped. The patch pocket adds to the hip dimension, so for me it's never as attractive. So let's cut these out. Now, when deciding how long your skirt panels need to be, so I bought 2 yards of each, which I knew was more than enough. Okay, so I just have to decide how long I want my skirts. This is last week's project. I'll put it below too if you'd like to make this super fast and easy new look top. I have made it before. I will talk about that in the video. Had deja vu all over again. Did not remember making it. It's a whole thing, but it'll be linked below if you'd like to make it up. Very fast and easy. So we know this is our top, and it ends almost exactly at my waistline, just a little above, which is actually flattering and cute, which means I can make the skirt longer. Now, if you want a short skirt, you make a short skirt. I always want mine below the knee, personally, so I'm gonna measure that. So I take my tape measure, and I hold it so that the one, or the bottom, or the end where it starts, is down. and then I hold it where the numbers are at the top. It's just easier than me looking down and trying to figure out what that number is down there. I can move my tape measure up and down, and wherever my finger is, that's the measurement. So for me, about 30 inches is about where I want it to end. And doing 30 inches, I just want to make sure I have enough for a hem and seam allowance at the top. So I'm going to cut it at 32. So I should have about 8 inches left over at the end that I can use for pockets. If it's finished at 30, it's almost as long as my pants. It'll actually be a tiny bit longer because the weight of the skirt will pull down on the t-shirt a little bit. So I could easily do this at like 31. I just need a little bit extra in there for seam allowance and hem. I do want a little bit longer hem or deeper hem because it makes the skirt lay nicer, and I'm working with a very lightweight gingham. So I'm gonna cut 2 strips because I want this full. I don't want a straight skirt. I want a nice soft full skirt. So I'm going to cut 2 lengths, my length. Then I'm going to trim off this selvage edge because I do not want the selvage in my finished garment. If you've not sewn with me before, the reason we take away selvage is that it is woven tighter and it actually will pull wherever it is in the garment. So if you leave it on your center back or your side seam, it will actually tuck in and pull it, and your garment's just not going to hang as nice. So I get rid of it. Now sometimes you can leave it in some projects. Very seldom do I ever leave it in them. So I'm going to cut 2 lengths at 32 each for my skirt, and then I'm going to cut some pockets. I just have a me-made pocket pattern that I use all the time. So let's do that real quick. Another thing I did with this one that's the woven is I pre-shrunk it. So I serged my 2 cut edges and ran it through the washer and the dryer like it's going to be treated after it's a garment. This is a fabric that can be torn because of its woven edge, but I'm looking to see if it's been cut evenly. And I'm probably just going to cut it on the line. I'm going to cut off the top edge first so that I'm starting with a straight edge. All right, so I'm going to just follow a line. I'm looking to see if it's where it disappears. I need to come down to this line. Now I'm just setting up my serger with white thread for both projects to streamline it. Right now I'm just truing up the edge of my fabric. Now that I've done this, I can tear it and it will be nice and straight. Okay, so this is the crookedy part. So I'm going to just tear. You can't tear knit, but you can tear a plain woven like this. So find my 32. And now you could easily self-line this because it's lightweight. Like if I wanted to, I could put a little lining in with this at the same time. A little soft batiste, something like that. Okay, there's my 32. Get ready for tearing. There's one panel. I'm going to tear the next panel. I'm going to use the old panel. I don't even try matching up these gingham checks. This is a micro check, so it's about 1/8 of an inch. And it's so tiny. It's not anything that I would mess with trying to align it at the machine. If you're going to tear, make sure you get all the way through that selvage edge and cut as straight as you can. Okay, this is what I have left for my pockets. Plenty. Now I'm going to just trim off that selvage. Sometimes you can tear the selvage. I seldom do though. I usually just cut it because you end up with a lot of strings. So I have cut this in 32 by 45-ish panels. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other one, and I'm going to cut out my pockets, and then I'll meet you back and we'll do the same thing for the green. Okay, this is my flat-topped pocket that I use when I want to catch this into the seam line, like the waistline of this skirt or of this dress. And look at how much fabric I have left. Perfect amount to get my sleeve. My pocket. I'm cutting 4 of these out, and then I will be ready to cut the green skirt, and then we'll be over there sewing. Okay, I'm going to true up the edge of my knit so that I am working with it nice and straight. You want to make sure you don't have any cross lines, because usually these are wound a little crooked and then cut a little crooked or a lot crooked. I cannot access my wider rotary cutting mat right now, so we're going to do our best with this and with a shorter mat and get this trued up, and then we will move on. I'm trying to decide here. I might just fold it on itself. Alright, I'm going to do my best to get that straight. Hopefully it's straight there. I'm using the grid down here to line everything up and keep it straight. My rotary cutter will cut through 4 layers of... I'm going to come from this direction so I don't have that guard against it. Sorry. Now hopefully that's straight, and then I can just measure my 32 and go from there. Couldn't find the tape measure because it's around my neck. I worked for a clothing manufacturer when I was in college, and we were always measuring and cutting and then slicing, and every tape measure we cut in half. Like we went through so many tape measures, it was ridiculous. It was a problem. But I remember rotary cutting off my tape measure almost every single time I cut for her. I should have put the ruler. If I put the ruler on the side, I wouldn't have to come. Okay, I'm going to redo that. We're going to go this way. Okay. Skirt panel 1. Now, when I cut the woven, it was 45 wide, and I did 2 panels. For the knit, it's 60 wide, and I'm doing 2 panels. The knit lays softer and drapier than the woven will. So they're both going to lay great. They're going to lay differently, and a wider skirt, because of this softer, drapier fabric, will work just great. I almost cut on the wrong line because I got a phone call which distracted me. Alright, so I have my skirt panels, but this is all that I have left for pocket. And honestly, a knit pocket is not as great as a woven pocket. It stretches when you stick your heavy phone in it. So I went over to my scraps and I found just a plain little piece of white. It actually has a teeny tiny white on white pattern, but it does not matter. And I'm going to cut pockets out of this. Cut it this way because that crookedy selvage. Cutting 4 pockets. Now the thing I love about a rotary cutter is it's really easy to cut out lots of layers all at once. All right, we are all cut out. Tidy up this space. We'll head over to the sewing machine and we'll start putting together our little dresses. Trimming off that selvage. It's super easy on this because it's ribbed and I can just follow that line down. So here's my big dilemma. The black and white skirt portion is so easy to sew up in just white. I could also sew it in gray. I can sew it in black. Like it's one of the nice things about a gingham check. The green is a very specific green, and I know I bought thread for it. I'm looking around my room. I cannot find it. I could have sworn I bought thread. So I've been comparing. Gray is another option, and I think I'm going to actually use gray just for the hem. Like you won't see any other stitching on it other than the hem. I probably am going to do a twin needle hem on the knit. I probably will do a plain hem for the woven. I love a good twin needle. because the sleeve is also done with a cover stitch, which just looks like a twin needle stitch, it kind of continues the continuity from the ready-made t-shirt into the skirt that I've attached to it. I've also got out my 3/8 inch wide elastic that I'm going to put along that waistline to kind of pull it in and make it fit me better. Just makes it look a little more attractive. Got my little pockety pockets. So now I have to decide which one I want to do first. And I think I'm going to do the black and white one first, just because I know it's going to go together so easy because it's woven. So let's grab our fabric. Yeah, I'm going to love this. I have been considering trimming, because I have extra, putting a little bit of this trim along that edge. But I don't want it to look too twee, you know? I don't want to go that route. We'll see. So we're going to take our 2 panel pieces, and the first thing I'm going to do is put my pockets on up here in these upper corners. So they're rectangles, and there's really not a right or wrong on these. So I'm just going to serge on these pockets all the way up here at the top. So I'm going to just serge the pocket on, grab a clip, on all of these corners. I'm treating this 1/4 inch seam allowance on everything for the most part. I'm going to come back and do a little thing. I'm going to serge around these pockets, and then I'll come back and do a little stitching to make them nice and smooth right where the pocket and the skirt meet later. So here's pocket 1, pocket 2. And honestly, if you want to, like I'm doing 2, you could easily do this manufacturing method where you, because I'm doing the same color for both, I could do this for both skirts. I could go ahead and attach the pocket for both skirts right now, which I might do because it does go a little faster. At least in my head it does. So we're going to do pocket, pocket. So there's one skirt with pockets ready. Do the same thing with this. Now I don't have a directional fabric. I don't have a right and a wrong. So I just want to make sure that I get this in the right corner. That's really my only concern. Like, this is so easy. Another pocket. Now if you don't want to put in a pocket on each side, you could just put a pocket on your dominant hand side. I accidentally, in one project one time, put my pocket on the left side instead of the right side, and it is so frustrating to me because I am right-handed, and I know if I were left-handed it would have been the best thing in the world, but I just made a mistake and got it in on the wrong side. And every time I wear that dress, I go to put my phone in the pocket and there's no pocket on the right side. I'm gonna get all these on. I think I will go ahead and do the same for the green skirt. I may just kind of do this. I'm thinking I'm gonna manufacture this. I'm gonna do both things to both skirts. So there's the pockets for that. Let's get this one. Same thing. Now this time I do have a right and a wrong on the knit. So when you get your, make sure you cut the selvage edge off the knit, which I forgot to say. We're going to do right side of fabric, right side pocket to right side skirt. And do the same thing, line it up, put a couple clips. Now all I'm going to do first is just serge this pocket only. So I'm just going to serge this little section for all these pieces. So I have 4 skirt pieces total that I'm going to do that to. And then we will come back and start putting our skirt together. All right, we're just going to serge on the skirts or the pockets to the skirt edges. And I'm only doing as far as the pocket, and that's it. For the first pocket, I started at the waist and went down to the edge of the pocket. This time I'm starting at the bottom of the pocket and coming up. And that's just so I can keep the pocket on top and keep track of where it is. Making sure everything's lined up straight. let's do the knit to woven, the green skirt. Just, it's a little easier to see what I'm doing. I'm looking in here, I can see where my pocket ends, and then I can actually just move everything to the side, serge it off, and that's, so I've only stitched that part. So now we're going to do the other side of the pocket, where we're starting at the bottom of this pocket. So I'm straightening everything out, make sure it's lined up right, and then I'm going to just slide this under the foot and get it lined up right with the edge of the bottom of the pocket. Now it's okay if you go a little long, it won't hurt anything because you're going to come back and sew over it anyway. And that's all it takes to put on little pockets. I have got all the ears on, I've got all the pockets on, so I'm going to take one of my skirts and I'm going to open it up so the pocket's hanging off to the side, and I'm going to lay right sides together, and I'm going to do this for both of my skirt pieces, and I'm going to clip or pin this outer edge together. So we're going to start way up here at this pocket like this, right sides together, and we're going to put some clips in it or some pins, whatever you're comfortable with, and we're going to serge all the way around the side seam and pocket. Now we're going to come back afterwards and we're going to fix this little area down here to make it lay nice and smooth with the sewing machine. But we can serge this whole stinking thing together so easily. It's a good idea to press this pocket, so go over to the sewing machine, press the pocket, and you want to press the seam allowance towards the pocket. It'll just make your life a little easier when you're sitting here pinning it together and sewing it. So I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom of the hem here, and I'm going to pin back up or clip back up towards my pocket. I'm already loving this. I love this gingham. I've told the story before about how for years I had a gingham aversion. I called it Storytime with Stacy. And it was because I had a grandmother, one of my sewing teachers. My favorite sewing teacher growing up was my sister Susan. She did a lot with me and I appreciated it. My mom also did a lot with me, which was great. And then I would go spend summer with my grandma Millie, and she also sewed. Now she was a home sewist. She was great, she was patient, she would work with me. But she was a shortcuts kind of gal, in ways that my sister Susan and my mom were not. And I remember my mom ripping out one of my projects when I got home because she bought me gorgeous eyelet lace trim. It was an eyelet lace fabric with beautiful deep hemline, gorgeous, and I made a skirt out of it that buttoned up the front. It was so pretty, and she bought me the interfacing and everything. And when I got to my grandmother, she said, "Oh, we don't use interfacing, we use old dryer sheets." And she filled that white eyelet lace waistline with dryer sheets. My mom could not believe it. She ripped apart my skirt and took out the dryer sheets, and we put the waistband back on with, it looked so bad. It was like this gorgeous skirt that I'd worked really hard on with ugly dryer sheets shoved up in there. So just one of those things. But she's also the one that when I was a kid made for me a hot pink gingham check. It was sort of a large, not quite buffalo checked jumpsuit. It was like, you know, a one-piece play suit, no waist shaping. I was 12 or 13, but I was built like I was 18, so I looked like an adult. It was very curvy, and I was very self-conscious, and I looked like a sack of potatoes in that thing. I hated it. It was meant for a much younger kid than I was, especially mentally. I felt older, looked older, did not like it, and she forced me to wear it to a function with her, and I had bought a really cute outfit to wear to that function. She would not allow me to wear it, my grandmother, and that was it. Like I just saw gingham check in the one perspective of this ugly play suit that she had made for me, lovingly, looked so bad. She was so proud of it too. It was just one of those things where she was much more powerful force than I was, much more powerful personality, and I wore that ugly play suit, felt so embarrassed and humiliated in it. And I remember my brother was like in the corner like, sorry, Stace, sorry. He was just a year younger, but he could totally see how miserable I was in it. So I did not wear gingham check until like I was 12, maybe 11, 12 when that happened. And I did not wear gingham check until I was married, maybe had children, like 10 years. 10, 12, maybe more than that before I revisited gingham. Like I had such a stigma. Since then though, I have come back to gingham with a force and I love it. And I would wear a play suit if I could wear it with a belt. Okay, so we're gonna do this for both of our skirts and we're just gonna serge around that. I'm gonna go ahead and clip all of my skirts together, both sides, right sides together, just like this. And we're gonna go ahead and just serge around. So on to serging. All right, we have all of our skirts clipped together. And I'm going to start up here at the pocket. I'm going to serge all the way around and end at the hemline. I have pushed my seam allowances towards the pocket. So when I'm serging this, and don't worry if it's not perfect, you just want to catch all your raw edges. If you're sewing at the sewing machine instead, straight stitch all the way around this and then come back and zigzag that raw edge. You could also bias bind it, which will make your garment a little stiffer, but it's certainly an option. But a good zigzag will also keep it from fraying. And we're just going to serge around. All right, so I'm going to do that for all of my pieces. I'm gonna flip over and do this one. Now, if you want to make sure that your stitching is the same on both sides so that you see the top side of the serger on both sides, you will start at the top of the pocket on one side. On the other side, you will start at the hemline. That just keeps your stitching consistent. Otherwise, if you don't care, you can start at the same spot on both of them. Now once I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and serge around the hem on both of them too, and just finish off that hemline. It'll keep this from fraying. Finishing off that hemline. Okay, we have got two skirts all put together and serged. You can kind of see how that pocket's going to look on the inside there. So what I'm going to do now for both skirts, with them still right sides together, so here's my little pocket hanging out, I'm going to come in on this side seam where I went around this corner, and I'm just going to start an inch or two below the pocket, and I'm going to straight stitch up past this stitching line where the pocket is attached to make it nice and smooth at that side seam. And then I'm going to come up here at the top of the pocket and stitch just about a ½ inch, doing the same thing, and that's going to make sure that the pocket doesn't peek through, so that on the right side it's tacked down so that the pocket's not going to peek. Now on this one, because the pocket's actually a different color, I think I'm going to go ahead, I might do this on both of them. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to stay stitch my seam allowance to the pocket first, and that just helps keep everything in place. So I'm going to do that real quick for both pockets. Even though it doesn't show on that one, it does make for a nice smooth pocket. So let's do some stay stitching and some little correction stitching along those side seams to make it perfect. I'll show you the close-ups of that. and then we'll be ready to attach our skirts. I think I'm gonna go ahead and hem the gingham first though. So we'll hem the gingham. I'm not gonna hem this one because I'm gonna twin needle it. So we'll hem the gingham, we'll attach both skirts, all those things. Let's do our little stay stitching first. My seam allowance pressed towards the pocket. Get all my threads back under the foot, and I'm just stitching so that I catch the seam allowance on the pocket side. You can see I'm stitching pretty close to that edge. Now the pocket's free. I'm not catching the bottom of this piece of the pocket. I'm not going to catch that on either side. So as I come up to this, I'm going to back stitch and stop. I'm going to flip the pocket behind it and start here. I didn't break my thread, but I can come back and trim it off later. I just want that pocket to lay free, and I think I need to change my needle. My needle's misbehaving. Okay, so it looks like that. That's my edge stitching. That's how it looks on the wrong side. And you can see the pocket's still completely free. So can you see right here, this is where I've stitched. So here it is at the top, here it is at the bottom. So when I look at this from the right side, notice the pocket is tucked in a little bit. It doesn't show because I've evened it out, and see how this looks nice and smooth here. It's hard to tell where the pocket stops and the regular seam line finishes, and that's what doing this just little tiny bit of seam right here does. So I'm going to do that for all of the skirt pieces on the side seams. All right, I've just pressed the whole skirt, and now I'm pressing up the hem. I'm just using my little metal ruler because I can iron right over it, and I'm pressing up 1.25 inches. So I set it at inch, I pull it up to the 1.25 inches and press and move it along. And what I do is I get like a piece here at 1.25 inches and a piece here at 1.25 inches. Then I can just pull it tight and press between. Because this is a cotton, it presses up beautifully. I'm going to put a few clips just to hold it, but it's ready to hem. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and hem this now. I've turned up 1.25 inches. I'm going to stitch at 1 inch, and that way I can reset my machine to a basting stitch afterwards. Now I am stitching with the right side up. This is the wrong side. It's easier to tell where you're stitching if you stitch with this side up. However, if you do, let me stitch a little farther. So when top stitching, the top of the fabric should be showing, and that's what I'm doing, top stitching, and that's so that the best side of your stitch also shows. The bobbin side is never quite as nice as the top or the needle side. It's just because of how the stitch is made. Now, most of the time you can't tell, but sometimes you really can. So I try to, as much as possible, always be really cautious with how I have pressed everything so that I can easily stitch from the top and not have to worry about not catching the bottom. And I can then make sure that my stitching on top is super pretty and looks really nice. Okay, the hem is in on this skirt. This one is not. I've got all the pockety things finished, and now we're going to put in basting lines. I've set my machine to about a 4. You can go longer if you need to. And I am going to sew at 1/4 inch and at 1/2 inch. For basting lines, that's just going to get me nice even gathers. So I'm going to do that on both skirts. I'm doing front and back separately. I don't want one continuous line, and I also don't want my pocket caught in there. Don't want to gather the pocket. I'm going to lay the pocket flat behind the gathers. So basting lines now. We have got our skirt portions together. And the black and white one is hemmed. So everything's done, including the basting lines on our skirts. So I'm going to take the black and white one just because it's a little easier to work with. And this shirt it's going to go to. Now I'm working with a shirt that's a cutoff, so it's already the length I want it to be. You may be working with an old favorite t-shirt that you're going to cut off, so you need to make that decision, which I didn't discuss before. I have discussed in the other 2 videos about cutting the shirt shorter though, but you just need to decide how long you want the skirt, this top portion to be. You can actually make this so that this skirt is low, like hip length if you want to, like that's totally up to you, or even high so it's almost like empire waisted or empire waisted. You get to design, it's yours. So I'm taking my shirt, it has side seams, and then I'm going to mark my center front and center back on the shirt, doing the same thing with the skirt. This is called quartering. So I have a pin. And then the side seams are, you know, our 2 sides. We're going to line those up with our shirt, and then we're going to line up our center front and center back with our shirt and our skirt, and we're ready to go. Really the same front and back. I'm looking at my stitching because I happen to be a nitpicky stitcher and I want it a certain way, but that is just me. So here's my center front pin of my skirt, right sides together. Here's my shirt. I think I did the purple one in the front. Yep. Center front of my shirt. So I'm going to put center front to center front pins on top of each other and line them up. And now I'm going to combine them so they're together now with 1 pin. I have not pulled any gathering lines yet. Side seam to side seam. Make sure that the stitching for my gathers are out of the way so they don't get caught. And put a pin in that. And now what I'm doing is my shirt is going to go down inside the skirt. So here's my skirt. Here's my other side seam. Pin it together. Now you can use clips, but I always start with pins because it's super accurate. So now you can see the shirt is down inside the skirt. Now I can pull my gathering lines. Now, whenever I do my basting, I always do it with the right side of the fabric up and the wrong side against the bobbin. That is so when I go to gather, you're always looking at the wrong side of the fabric, or usually you are, and the bobbin side's a little looser and it's easier to pull your gathering lines from the bobbin side. That's almost 100% of the time true because it's the way the stitch is formed on the sewing machine. Now you may have a sewing machine that actually has a different way that the stitch is formed, but most all of them are going to be formed this way. So I'm going to now pull my gathering lines, and because I have it quartered, I only have to get the gathers even from in each quarter. I don't have to make it perfect all the way around, quarter by quarter by quarter. Now, if you find it's more attractive on your body to have all of the gathers more central and have it sort of smooth on the sides, do that. I'm going to make mine pretty even all the way around, but you can do it either way. I'm pulling both gathering lines, trying to get it nice and even for both layers, for both rows, and I'm just gently pulling the gathering lines and I'm riding my stitches across. You do not want to pull hard. This is why we have a longer stitch. If you pull hard, you could break your gathering lines. Then you're going to have to restitch this. And this one actually would be pretty easy if I wanted to have all the gathers in the front, because this is a very soft fabric. These little dresses are going to look quite different. In addition to the fabrics being different and the shirts being different, the skirt has in the black and white has less fabric around. It is lighter weight but firmer, where in the green I have more fabric but it's heavier but drapier. So they're going to lay a little differently. Now, because of where I put my basting lines, I will be pulling out the bottom basting line for certain, because that bottom basting line is probably going to show after this gets overlocked. If you are uncomfortable with overlocking it directly, like I'm going to, you could sew this around first and then overlock it next. That makes it easier for you. Because I'm working with a knit t-shirt, I do not want popped stitches. Now, if you're doing this all on a sewing machine, zigzag this line. Do a teeny tiny zigzag. I want to say it's like 1 by 1.5, or I may have that backwards, 1.5 by 1. It's a small little zigzag. It's not a satin stitch. And that will make it look like a straight stitch from the right side, but it will give it enough flexibility that you don't get popped stitches when you're putting your garment on and off, because we've got a knit on top. We do not want pop stitches. Okay, I'm putting some pins in, and I'm going to do this all the way around. So I'm going to go quarter by quarter by quarter, pulling in my gathers, getting them nice and neat, and then we'll be ready to serge it for both skirts. All right, so here's my gathering lines on the wrong side. Pick these up, so I'm going to hold on to both of those at the same time. You can see I have right side to right side. I'm going from center front pin to side seam pin, and I'm going to gently, I'm holding on just to the bobbin. You always have to pull the same ones. You can't go from front to back, so you want to make sure you pull the same every time, which is why I always do bobbin. You can see how nicely that's gathering up. And we're just gently sliding these. We're going to ride the rails across and get this even out across here. And then once I get it gathered up so that it meets, I still have some more gathers to go. Okay, so now I have it, they're the same dimension, but the gathers aren't even. Now I can start moving my gathers around to make them even. This is my center front, or it's actually my center back pin. And we're just gently going to even these out, checking them and putting in a pin every once in a while. And once I get this one done, I'm going to go around and do the next quarter. So here's the first one. Now I don't have it perfectly. You can see I've just started putting my pins in, and I'm just evening my gathers as I go. All right, I am gathering and pinning, and now I'm ready to pin down the front pockets. This is the front of my skirt. I've pulled my pocket flat and forward, and I'm just going to pin it in so it's actually covering the gathers in the section that the pocket is in, so that when I serge, I'm going to go all the way around and it will catch the pocket also in that seam. I just have one little quarter left here, and then I will be ready to stitch it down. So you can see my little skirt all pinned on and ready to go. I'm double checking that I pushed the pockets to the front, and we don't want our pockets pushed to the back. So I'm going to flip it this way so you can see. Here's my little pockets, my shirt on the inside, and I am just going to go over to the serger. Now there's two lines of thinking about this. Because I have gathers, I can put it so I can see the gathers to make sure it's going through and they don't pleat over or twist. Or I can put the gathers on the bottom and let the feed dogs pull them through, and a lot of times you get a little more evenly. It's really what you're most comfortable with. There's no right or wrong in that. I am going to put my gathers on top because I also have the pocket, and I just want to make sure that none of my things slide apart, that I don't end up having any of my layers slip. I'm actually going to put a few clips in here for reinforcement because I'm serging mine together. I have a 1/4 inch-ish seam allowance here, so not a real wide seam allowance, and I don't want to be cutting off really anything. All right, we are getting ready to marry these to each other. Now, once I have done this, I am mostly done. Like, I could stop at this point, or I'm going to, and you may want to too, you can add an elastic after this. So I'm going to serge this together, and dress one will technically be done if you don't want the elastic in it. So let's do that, and then we will put together the green one. Find a side seam. I always start at a side seam of the center back. All right, this is the front of the skirt, the back of the skirt. Here's my side seam. I'm going to go ahead and pull out 2 pins because I do not want those to get caught when I start. And I'm sliding that right in to get it started. So here's my pocket. I'm kind of starting a little bit in the front, but it's at the side seam. And I'm going to go slow, pulling out pins as I go. You do not want to chop off any of your tails. So I have the tails pulled down because once I cut a tail, my all of these little pleats, all these little gathers would start coming out. So I'm being cautious of that. how it looks. I hope that's not going to be too long now that I've done it. It comes right to my waist, exactly. Wowie. Okay, I have thoughts now that I've tried it on. And one is, it's longer. It's longer with the skirt on. Okay, so I am definitely wanting elastic in this, and I'm considering shortening the skirt, shortening the top on this one. I'm going to compare and see if they're the same length because it's a little long. They're exactly the same. I'm going to cut off 2 inches off of this top before I attach it. I'm glad I tried that. I'm going to leave this one the way it is. I think I'm going to go around though and do another row of stitching down just a little bit more, like 1/2 inch, and we'll take it up just a tiny bit before I add my elastic. So I'm going to go ahead and do another row of stitching around there to make this one a tiny bit shorter and firmer, and then we will pin on this the skirt to this one. Again, shortening this one by about 2 inches. I want it just a little bit shorter. I'm not going to take this one apart and redo it. I'm going to live with it how it is. Okay, I'm doing a zigzag. I've set it to 1.8 across by 1.5 long. Sewing at the 1/2 inch. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'm zigzagging at the 1/2 inch, and that still will let this stretch on the knit part, gives it stability, gives me a little more in here, and then when I add my elastic to this, I have more to add it to. I think I'm going to actually do the same thing on that one. I'm going to serge it like this and then come back and do a zigzag. I think I will be happier even though I am going to shorten that shirt. So now that's more substantial seam. It's going to make it support the weight of the skirt better, and I think I'm really going to need that on the knit especially. This is a lightweight because of the fabric, but the knit's heavy. Okay, look at how cute that is. Yep, that's adorable. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to get this one put on, then I'll come back and we will do elastic and we will hem this, and then I will do a final try on for you. Give everything a haircut and a press too. I have 2 dresses. They are together at the waist. I've given a haircut to the green one. I haven't done it yet for the pink and black. I'm ready to go ahead and put the elastic in, however. So I've just cut myself 2 pieces of elastic, one for each dress. That's a little bit smaller than my waist. And I'm just gonna zigzag it in the seam allowance up here of each dress. So I'm just gonna lay it in, zigzag around, stretching as I go. You can quarter this if you want to. You can just stretch as you go, however is easiest for you. I'm going to attach it. I'm going to put a little clip here. So I'm just quartering my elastic. I've got it overlapped on one end. You can see it's smaller. It's smaller than the size of the shirt. So I've set my zigzag to a bigger stitch now. I was doing a tiny zigzag when I was just going around the waist of the skirt. I have enlarged it. It's now like 1.8 in length and about a 3.5 in width. And we're going to just zigzag it in. I'm going to start where my little ends are overlapped so that I catch both of them when I start. You can see where the elastic is overlapped. I'm not stretching it. I'm just going to take a few stitches, get it secured, and now I can stretch gently as I go. I've got it quartered so I can stretch to each quarter and get it zigzagged in. that's done, I have got one dress ready to go other than hem. This is the green one. And let me just hold this up. Can you see the little waistline? It just pulls it in a little bit. It's not going to make it like real tight, but it does help give it a little more shape. It also just supports that with the weight of this heavy. This knit is heavy, so it's helped support the weight of that. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. This one is not. This one's light, the skirt fabric for this one. And now we're going to do the same thing again. Give this a haircut, put in the elastic. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one in, and then I will meet you back here to do the hem of the green. I'm going to do a twin needle hem on it, and they will be done. I'm excited. I'm going to have to go get some cute shoes to try on with this. Might get a belt to try on. I think I have a black belt I might want to try with this one. This one I don't think I would wear a belt because it's all one color for the most part, and it's more flattering that way. More of a column. Okay. One more again. All right, I have my twin needle on. Can you see my double needle there? I've got it loaded up with gray thread. This is the color thread that I've made a bobbin. So I've got one side of the needle has a bobbin, and then the other side has the spool. Just an easy way to do it. It's white on bottom, which is what the whole rest of the garment has been sewn in, so I felt fine about that. So I'm using my even feed foot to do this, which is that right there. It's a little like a walking foot, and it just helps keep movement between the layers down, so it makes it go a little more smoothly. I'm working with a super stretchy knit. So we're just going to sew at the 1 inch line. Okay, I've switched feet. I had an open toe foot before. This one's closed toed, but it does give a little more even pressure. We'll see how it does, or if I want to change the foot. What I don't want to do is stretch or push, so I'm just trying to keep it flat. That's what I'm doing down here with my fingers. I'm really just keeping it nice and flat. And letting the machine do the rest. Oh no, I'm getting a pin tuck. That's why it wanted me to do it. It's pin tucking the hem. Okay, so it does a real nice pin tuck with that foot, kind of a thick one, which is not what I want for my hem. I'm going to rip this back out. I have changed back to the foot that I had on before, but I have told my machine that I'm using the twin needle and seeing if it automatically adjusts my bobbin tension for me. If it doesn't, then I'm going to have to do some bobbin adjustment. Okay, I take it back. I don't like it. Can you see how it's too rolled up? It almost looks corded. Going to rip it one more time, and I'm just going to do a straight hem instead. I could have done a cover stitch over here, which would have worked too, but we'll just do a regular hem like I did on this one, and we'll be ready to try it on. All right, let me show you how easy it is to pull out this twin needle. I'm going to come over here to the bobbin. Now I never back stitched, which is partly why it's so easy to pull out. Because I'm doing a circle, I was just going to come back and catch it on the other side. But I'm going to pull my bobbin. It's going to kind of gather it up, and I can gently pull. Now you have to be careful what fabric you do this on. Some fabrics will kind of cut, like it doesn't like you to pull a thread like this. It's a little like gathering, like we've got a basting line here. I'm just going to keep pulling, and the bobbin is out, and then I can come to this side and just pull my top threads, and now the hem is gone. I can go to my regular straight hem. And this is, whoops, and this is my new hem. I am using a straight stitch, but you can see it works great. I'm really pleased. Okay, are you ready for dress number 1? I did put a belt with it. I'm going to take the belt off so you can see it just as is, but I think the belt is really cute. Now this is the one that I did not take any off of the shirt, so this is the length of the shirt with the skirt. All right, let's look at the green one. Okay, I'm back with the green. Now, as far as fit goes, they feel different on, and a lot of that is because of the different skirt. This one feels so soft and flowy when on. The other one, you can feel the stiffness a little bit of the fabric, though it is a soft fabric. See, I like the look with the belt. I may have to find some this green and make myself a belt. Okay, I know this is my third video on making, turning a t-shirt into a dress on upcycling t-shirts. I would love to know if you have sewn one before, if you have done this yourself, if you made one for your kiddo or a grandkid or for yourself. I definitely will be wearing this all summer. I would like to say, if you bought a shirt like this, or if you have the t-shirts with the little holes that we all get in the belly from doing dishes at the sink or whatever we do, and you end up with all the little holes, you could cut it off and do a peplum on it and do a shorter, instead of doing a full skirt, you could do something shorter and kind of do that look that you see right now, where it is sort of it's just another gathered piece of fabric. Would also look really cute. I'll try and find a picture and stick one in here for you just so you can see. But that's another way to upcycle some of your favorite t-shirts and keep the cute look. Thanks for sewing with me. I'll see you next week for another fun video.